Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Questionnaires Technique presentation. We have Cody Oakes and Elizabeth Haig and myself, Chino Agurbi. And tonight we're going to talk about the questionnaire techniques. So as the name suggested, the questionnaires are a way of gathering data through open and closed questions. Questionnaires technique should include clear, focused questions that are specific to the issue or problem being researched. These techniques allow us to get the highest quality data as possible from the multiple stakeholders during the early stage of requirement elicitation. Questionnaires can be given through a number of strategies. They could include paper and telephones, which were used more in the past. Emails and face-to-face questionnaires are more than common. Depending on the approach, you can reach a large amount of participants and diverse audiences.
The upside of questionnaires is that they are very inexpensive, especially the electronic ones. It can be done electronically with no hard costs other than just the cost of the labor of the person setting it up. They're easy. Setting up the form took very little time and was easy to do. There are no limits due to the cost of stamps or copies, and location is not an issue either. It's available to anyone with internet access when the electronic version of questionnaires are the form of doing it. There's no limit on the sampling of people. You can choose from all over. It's a really good method for the first phase. The results of the written questionnaire will be extremely useful as input for the first phase, and it ensures that the fundamental elements are addressed early on and establishes a foundation for subsequent elicitation activities. The downside is that on average, only 30 to 50% of paper and email questionnaires are returned. Response rates for web-based questionnaires are even lower. They're only 5 to 30% that are returned. Another downside is information on the questionnaires can't necessarily be clarified immediately. If somebody has a question about maybe a question, there's nobody to ask or say, hey, what does this mean? Another downside is that people who tend to respond may be those that have strong opinions, and those that are neutral are the ones that really aren't going to, more likely not to respond to a questionnaire. You can't expand on new ideas. This would be accomplished in the next phase of the elicitation. But if this is the only method of elicitation, this is definitely a drawback. And how the information that is collected will be used and analyzed is another downside of questionnaires. There was a study done on questionnaires, and they found that the different methods equaled different results. The study took the same questions, the same people, only you see the 3 different methods listed here, and yet their answers were inconsistent and they were different based on this. So that is only another downside of questionnaires.
As far as our recommendation goes, we would recommend using the questionnaire technique early on in the elicitation process, basically to establish a baseline and direction for future information gathering. This technique is particularly useful when gathering information from multiple stakeholders in diverse areas over a short period of time. Questionnaires aren't as effective when attempting to gather complex ideas or information that may need to be explained or expounded upon. This type of information gathering is better suited for an interview setting or for a group session. Here are some of the references where we gathered our information from. And now we're going to go ahead and go over some of the data that we gathered using a questionnaire. So this is the questionnaire that we used to gather our information. And we first started off with some demographics just to kind of know which users we were targeting or which users we were gathering information from. And then we asked them a little bit about the types of features that they would like to see in a merit badge tracking application, what platform they would like to use this application on, and if the tool was available, if they would be likely to use it or recommend it to people involved in scouting. We got quite a few different responses back from the survey. And you can see that a lot of people are using the iPhone. The awesome thing about questionnaires is that we can gather this information quickly, and Google actually has its own questionnaire service called Google Forms, and it actually compiles all that data and puts it into nice graphical charts for us to see visually too.
One of those stakeholders that we reached out today for this example were people that are involved or Eagle Scouts project at the church, and the response were immediate. They were fast. We were able to gather this information within a few hours, and that was a really good example for us to see how the questionnaire works. And we want to thank you so much for attending this presentation, and